Hi guys, welcome back to the channel and a brand new video on Marvel Contest of Champions. This is a video all about alliance questing champions. Over the years I've used different and various champions and I thought I'd share these experiences from my progression through map 1, 3 and going all the way up to map 5 and occasionally doing map 6. Different champions that I've used for whatever reasons, their benefits in damage output, boss killing, regens, a whole spectrum of different things that are going to be of benefit, and let's talk about that. It will help out a lot of people that may be deciding, like, why should I bring this champion? Should I bring this champion to Alliance Quest? Should I rank up this champion in order to get a better kind of damage output and Alliance questing? Those questions will be answered and more. And for those people who already know and are a bit smug about it, hey, just give it a watch, a bit of entertainment, you know what I mean? Now, as you can see, your boy's right at the top. That's not really a usual thing. Usually I'm a bit slack when it comes to Alliance Quest, and there's a long-going joke that it's like Rich AQ, because like I'm doing like YouTube and stuff and loads of other things in the house. Sometimes I don't always kind of get there, so not all the time you're going to see a good point score as there. So I've done a bit of boss killing, and what did I use for that particular boss killing? I used Scarlet Witch. Scarlet Witch is at the moment, and this is my current team. However, though, I do take out Captain Marvel based on decent damage output, and then what I do is I will put her into Alliance Wars as an offensive. And the thing is, I like her going between both things. She's got that poison immunity that is key. The fact that she's awakened, she's obviously she's my rank 4 5-star, as you know if you're following the channel, and she's pretty damn dope, really, to be honest. And then we've got Wolverine. Wolverine is a regener. He's someone that I do enjoy. Granted, he's been knocked out at the moment, but that's through some careless, drunken gameplay by myself, so that happens. But sometimes, you know, mistakes do happen. But one thing I like about Wolverine is bleeds and regens. I like to get up to L3. I don't do the L3. I make sure it's there because obviously when we get that regen off, it means that based on a huger kind of power being there, that we get a little bit more health coming back to the champion. So that's the reason that I do kind of play that champion. It's so sad to see him dead, but it's okay because we've got Scarlet Witch and Captain Marvel to pick up the slack. And Scarlet Witch herself is my 99 Scarlet Witch, and I thought I would have her out of my roster, but she is just a crucial part. Like, over the years, and even with surviving a nerf, she still holds her own quite well. And at times I'm still triggering off a 3 times regen, which is becoming incredibly effective. Especially because I don't want to spend too much of my glory on things that are going to be like health potions and revives. I'd rather spend them on things that are going to boost up my roster tier for basics, alphas, those kind of things. And map 5 Alliance Quest isn't the most difficult one in the world. It's just a good playable and fun experience, with the boss being Dormammu. And the one thing that I enjoy about going against Dormammu is I'll use any champion. It could be even Captain Marvel. And the great thing about it is just avoiding that L1 constantly. It seems to be the best thing. So that was the champions of present that I use. But the champions of the past and why I use them. Miss Marvel used to start off being in my roster. She was one of the lead people and lead champions based on poison immunity. Good, you can put down the poison line, poison path even, and that was a good option. That was a good option. But Captain Marvel came in. She was more powerful, 5-star. In. That's pretty obvious. Next thing was Captain America World War II. And nothing really needs to be said. Decent block proficiency. We had the stun. We had the amazing bleed off the L2. Was able to take damage, which was the best thing. And obviously the signature ability, Safeguard, block proficiency, everything, masteries. Nice little package that he was. Unfortunately, wasn't high when it came to signature level, but that wasn't the end of the world because he still acted as a great champion for that. Obviously, we've seen the champions in place at 4-star. Scarlet Witch has been in there since day dot. Wolverine has been a newer addition based on the fact of regen. But I also had previously that a regen champion was Ultron. The great thing about Ultron is he's bleed and poison immune, so he's handy for that path, or different paths. And I did diversify with like the many paths that I did, so yeah, it's kind of good to kind of mix it up from time to time. And our alliance does have a kind of a, if you're first to the path, then that is your path. Kind of, people don't do set paths. It's just can be a bit. A lot of people say that's the strict side of things. but it's nice to have a bit of freedom and to kind of go down different things to keep it more fresher and more enjoyable. And absorption was pretty darn good, as well as we said, regen, the immunities, and also bleeds. Bleeds were great, and putting these stuns and the crits based on that. Great champion all round, and good for so many things in Alliance questing, especially map 5. Okay, next up is one that I only used for a little bit of time, and that is Gwenpool. Gwenpool was great, bleeds, and the plot armor with the guys that are not dying from specials is pretty darn cool. I've been quite surprised by that, thinking, oh yeah, I'm just going to be hit by a special, I'm going to be dead, and then it's like, oh dear, right, okay, I've still got to go, and then I die based on that, because I don't think about that plot armor special ability. But the bleed side of things is still pretty darn good, and a great champion, but I just don't like using her quite so much in Alliance questing. I'm more about using her in questing. Vision Age of Ultron was a champion that is one of the most underrated, I think. He is always overshadowed by his OG Vision alternative, and yeah, okay, I can see that, but this guy is great, especially because he's more obtainable than the other. So we've got heal blocks, we've got power burns, power stealing, so many different and great things about it. He can be used on so many different paths because he has all those immunities, similar to Ultron, but obviously Ultron regens, but this guy doesn't. But we've still got extensive map power stuff, like a power control champions are always really handy, especially putting him down that very difficult tech line. When I'm talking about tech line or tech path even, I'm talking about this path here, which is a bit frustrating with regards to power gain, and you need to power control this. Obviously you could use power control champions, and we'll go on to other examples, but you know, it's just a bit pesky going up against Vision and OG Vision and not being able to control that synthesize, which is a bit of a pain in the ass. But still, he can be used for that really nicely. And a final champion that now has been bumped over to a different team is Black Widow. She is usually in my Alliance Quest team, but her value is more towards Alliance Wars, and that is based on an offensive, in that reducing down the signature abilities of champions is so much more required than you might think. Now, one big thing is that she has been nerfed quite considerably in the last few months. I think actually maybe a little bit longer than that. I think it was start of the year. But that is the disappointing side of things, that her usage, she's not amazing, but she's still good to use in certain circumstances. Especially crits are quite good as well, but not as good as they used to be. Obviously used to do a crit rate team as well, and she used to be kind of completely badass. But yeah, a bit disappointing to kind of not have her up the way she was, but still great and useful against reducing down those signature abilities, against Spider-Man, to a degree against the Limbo from Magic, that and Danger Sense with regards to Blade. It seems to be a good killer against Limbo and Magic. And obviously a lot of the vigilant people among you will go, hang on, but don't you have a load of different 5 stars? Why aren't you using them in your quest and grinding in Alliance stuff? And the answer is where everything's locked. Everything is now locked into different things. It's mainly in Alliance Wars. And the second thing is questing. So Dormammu is usually locked into Alliance Wars. Captain Marvel, as we know, is Alliance quests. Gwenpool I use for questing. Blade I use for questing. Nightcrawler will either be a case he'll be questing, or he'll be into something else. Same thing with Nightcrawler, could be Alliance Wars, could be that. Black Widow, offensive team for Alliance Wars. The list does go on, but I think the question is what else and the future plans. Well, obviously in future I would really like to use Dormammu, but I can't because obviously he's locked in certain things. Blade's usually locked into questing, and that's because he's excellent for questing. The next thing is Hulk. Yeah, I use him in questing as well. But there are some stronger contenders I would like to use, and that would be Mystics. And that is the disappointing side of things, is Mystics. If you follow the channel and you know, I do get screwed over when it comes to Mystic tier 4 class, you know, fragments and kind of getting a fully formed one. And that's the disappointing side of things, because I would like to use Magic, I would like to use Dr. Voodoo, as well as probably use Morningstar, and probably use Guillotine. But not having the rank up materials quite so frequently, let's say, is meaning that I can't use these any further. Although with new Glory Store changes, it may be more obtainable to get these mystic fragments that I bitch, whinge and moan about quite so regularly. But I think that's the point about your champions you use. And the main focus, if you're looking at an idea of what champions to put through Alliance Quest, then think about, you know, how much damage you're theoretically taking, as well as immunities. So characters that have got immunities, that regen, that maybe have significant bleed, good damage output, and maybe potential boss killers, those may be the champions to go for. I think putting a point on what is a boss killer is again a very difficult thing. You may say to a degree that Blade would be a boss killer. You may say that champions that don't require healing would be a boss killer, but their main focus is, say, damage output. There are different thought processes behind this. I mean, I've used Captain Marvel, which has a class weakness against Dormammu, based on the fact I just try and avoid that L1 each time, and that seems to be the best thing to go. You do have to remember that Dormammu and the AI and the way it kind of moves is of very quick, so you're going to have to be quick with regards to movements. There's certain champions that have evades built into them, like Nightcrawlers, as well as certain champions that have decent evades like Spider-Man, which has a class advantage. The reasons you choose certain champions, you have to look at as well about signature abilities. So make sure you take everything into consideration when putting a champion through maps. But when it comes to map 5s and above, you're really going to have to think very carefully about the strength. So your 5 stars, rank 4 5 stars, may be the best ones to go for. Regardless, if you think they're crap, you should always consider the fact that they could be ones that actually stay there a little bit longer. And how I largely decide whether a champion is worthy enough, it has to be either a higher rank or have a decent kick-ass signature ability. Hopefully that's given you an idea and process of how I go about using my favourite champions in Alliance questing, and hopefully it gives people a bit of an idea of what to use in future. Thanks very much for watching this video. I've been RichTheMan, and give your thoughts in the comments about the champions you use in Alliance Quest and why. Hopefully it will give players a little bit of an idea of what to use in future. Thanks very much. Bye bye.